This conference will now be recorded.
Perfect. So welcome everybody to the Clean Weekly Call on August 21st. This is Rev Anderson. I'm with ACE and I'm going to facilitate us today. So we do have a guest presentation today from Sarah Duffer, but before I turn it over to Sarah, let's see if anyone on the call has announcements.
So hello, this is Frank Neapold over at NOAA. I do have one. This is, I just wanted to announce that we're doing, I think this is the third year of the Teach for Climate Back to School campaign, social media campaign. I shared the link. It's a Google Doc, pretty simple. But I just wanted to let you guys know that that's up there and we're moving through. And this year we've added a little twist. Those of us, and Reb is part of that with me and others, are supporting some of the educational activities around the Global Climate Action Summit in San Francisco, starting on the 12th of September, running through the 14th. And we wanted to support educators who were interested in and surrounded in participating and watching and that event. And also, so we've kind of combined that impulse with the Teach for Climate Back to School campaign into one. So we're all using the hashtag Teach for the number 4 climate. And so if they have any initiatives, activities, resources that you want to share or participate in or discuss, one of the ways we do that is, between Twitter and Facebook, using that hashtag. So there's a lot of resources in there. There'll be new content, and climate.gov is kind of starting the ball, and we're starting to see more participants. It's an inclusive campaign, so if anyone wants to join and participate, it's pretty simple to do. So thank you very much.
It's good.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, it's really easy to participate in this campaign. It's basically like go into that doc, take some of the sample social media posts and put them up on your organization's or even your personal Facebook page with the hashtag Teach for Climate. It's a really low bar ask.
It's a low bar ask.
Yeah.
But I think I think one of the things that's interesting about this year is there's we're seeing very sizable increases in teachers and educators working on this topic area. So, if there are teachers who are actually doing this, and I think that in 2016 we had a selfie campaign. Some of those elements are in here, which is, I teach for climate because, and then fill it in as why. And I think when educators answer that question, we get really amazing insights into why people are focusing their precious educational time on this issue and what they're doing. And I think it helps others, become more comfortable with it. It's challenging some places more than others. So anyway. And Kathy, you asked about I'll put in the chat. I know of at least 2 specific education events focused at GCAS. One on the 11th and one on the 12th. And then there are other ones. We have a separate, back to school kind of campaign with GCAS. We're still working on that right now, but that's coming out soon. I'll put the 2 events I know of in there for now.
Hey, Frank, this is Patrick.
Hey, Patrick.
Do you mind if we share that media kit with colleagues when appropriate?
It is a public domain thing.
Okay, the one you shared in the Google Doc?
Sure did. I mean, there's a website version of it on climate.gov. I'll share that link. It's in the Google Doc. It might be an easier way to kind of get it. You can look at what it is before you have to request. Go to the climate.gov page. You can get to the campaign and then ask for the kit.
Okay, great. Thank you.
From front door.
Cool. Thanks, Frank.
Good thing.
Any other announcements?
I have to. I was like, am I on mute?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not sure who it is because I think you're just calling in. Was there someone just speaking? Go ahead.
Sounds like some music.
A banjo player.
That's me, actually. That is my husband and my son practicing banjo and violin downstairs. So sorry, you guys have to listen to some amateur music practice. Any other announcements? Frank, we haven't talked about this yet, but I saw Kathy said she'll be at GCAS all week. It makes me think maybe we should just sort of do, if anyone from Clean is going to be there, maybe pick a dinner or a lunch to get together just sort of informally. Are there others on the call who will be there?
Do you want to mention what you guys are doing with social media about that, or do you want to do that another time?
I'm like, do I want to talk about this? Things at GCAS are shifting all the time, very quickly. But ACE is going to be at GCAS. We're going to be actually within the summit with a contingent of our youth. And they're going to be doing a lot of like short videos and interviews with different participants and attendees. Hopefully with some of the more famous, well-known ones. And then we're going to be like trying to produce those videos in real time and get them out on our Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, that's a good place to sort of see some of the things that are happening, especially from like a youth perspective.
I don't want to leave the shop.
Any other announcements?
This is Kathy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Kathy.
Oh, hi. So I live in the Bay Area and am involved in a whole bunch of things around GCAS. But if people are coming in from out of town, there is going to be a big march on September 8th called Rise for Climate Jobs in Justice.
Kathy, I think your mic is getting either there's wind or.
Oh, sorry. There's a big march happening called Rise for Climate Jobs and Justice on Saturday, September 8th, the Saturday before the GCAS formal summit happens. So I can post something on that if people are going to be in town or want to know more about it.
And the one that if you're in San Francisco, Jim here, one is from basically the ferry building of San Francisco down to the Civic Center. So that if you're in San Francisco, anybody may know about that. So there's other ones in the Bay Area as well. It's largely 350.org is probably the main organizer of those, with many others.
Hi, this is Jen. Hi, everybody, from the Wild Center. I was curious, should we be trying to? I'll also be in San Francisco with Stylist Swanson, who's helping on the 11th. He's been our youth climate intern all summer. But I'm wondering, should we try to organize some kind of a meetup, like a clean meetup, to see if anybody on the network. I could maybe try to take that on for maybe on Monday or Tuesday night for anybody that might be there.
I think it's a great idea. We're all going to be using greenhouse gases to some degree to get into town. We might as well have a face-to-face, right? It's a event, right?
I'd love to do that.
I would love to hear if you have any recommendations on where we might do that. That's always the challenge. But
So why don't we just go ahead and commit to? I mean, we've always done it in an informal way. So if somebody knows a place that is not too loud, and
there's only 8 hours.
let's do that.
Okay.
Frank, does that Jim here? Frank, does this qualify, or is this not a good one? There's even like more than a few people are staying in a particular hotel, and there's the lobby, the restaurant of the hotel or something. Does that make it easy for people, or is it better to do more restaurant, coffee shop? What kind of place have you found work?
Jim, we've done exactly that. The
Your
Marriott
other key arrived while we were driving.
We've done that before, So I mean, I think one thing we should definitely do is what we don't have is who should we be talking to. So maybe we should start that in the clean listserv. Is like who's going to San Francisco.
Yeah.
We know how to have a side conversation with those who are of like.
We're on this until exit 20.
Hey, if you are a call-in user on the phone, I think we can hear you talking. So if you could mute yourself, that would be great. Caller 5, I don't know who you are.
This is Marta. I'm on the phone, but I'm having limited technical capabilities. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Hey, Marta. Yep.
Am I the mysterious caller 5? I don't know.
No, you're not.
My cat is also visiting, so I can mute myself if that's easier.
No worries, you're good. So does someone want to volunteer to start an email chain to the clean list to find a meetup time?
I will. This is Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
Sure.
Maybe like Tuesday evening, because the summit won't have started yet, but a lot of us will be there for one of those events, the workshop on Tuesday.
Yeah, that sounds great. I was thinking Tuesday night because it could be after the workshop on the 11th, and we'll be ready. We'll be ready to hang out.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, that was great, you guys. It's coming up soon. Any final announcements?
Oh, this is Kathy again. I have an announcement. California is on the cusp, literally, days away from hopefully passing a 100% clean energy bill, SB 100. I've been working on this for the last 14 months, and we're coming down to the last 10 days of our legislative session. So it's pretty close. We don't have all the votes we need, but we're really close. So it's pretty exciting and a big deal. And it would kind of provide some wind, not only for California, but coming into the GCAS for other people to see kind of the momentum around this, especially in contrast to some other political venues. So stay tuned. SB 100 is by Senator Kevin De Leon, and it would put us on the path for 100% clean energy by 2045.
Kathy, is there a webpage you want to put in the chat?
Yeah, I will. There's a huge coalition that's been working on this bill together for a year. So I'll put that link in there. And there's all kinds of resources, actions, and other things about this.
Perfect. I see that. Thanks.
Thank you for that link, because we're working on that here in Massachusetts too. We did get through some stuff, but not as strong as we would like. So we'll continue to work on that.
Awesome. All right. I think we are going to move into today's presentation. So I am excited to introduce today's presenter, Sarah Duffer. Sarah is going to be speaking about implementing the Drawdown curriculum in high school environmental science classes. And I think probably some of us are familiar with Project Drawdown. I think Mark McCaffrey has been bringing it to the Clean Listserv's attention for a while now. And Sarah is a nationally board certified 15-year Earth Environmental Science teacher at Asheville High School in Asheville, North Carolina. She traveled with Go Global NC and North Carolina educators in 2014 to Germany, where they studied Germany's educational system and shift to renewable energy. After she returned from Germany, she led her students to win the high school division of the inaugural Solar Schools Challenge. She has completed UNC's Institute for the Environment's Climate Change Fellowship and is presently an Energy Literacy Fellow. And last year, Sarah's students won the inaugural Drawdown EcoChallenge, an international competition rooted in drawdown solutions to reverse climate change. You can find Sarah in Asheville, hiking, biking, gardening, reading, and enjoying teaching all levels of high school students. So Sarah, we are excited to have you on the call today to talk about all this amazing work you've been doing. Go right ahead. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Can everyone see the slides on their screen?
Yep.
We can.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So, like it was already mentioned, Sarah Duffer, I teach in the Asheville High School in North Carolina, and today I'm going to be sharing with you the curricula that I have developed for the book Drawdown, in addition to the lessons that students created that helped us win the inaugural Drawdown EcoChallenge this past April. So for the next 30 minutes or so, I'll speak briefly about what is Drawdown. It sounds like that most people probably have a good sense of what it is. From there, we're going to focus on what classes and grade levels I teach, discuss ways that I've integrated Drawdown lessons into my different courses, and then I'll explain what the Drawdown EcoChallenge was and how Asheville High School won the first place, and then we'll wrap it up with setting our sights on future opportunities together. Getting to know Drawdown. Drawdown is the most comprehensive plan ever proposed to reverse global warming. It was published in 2017, and it outlines the 100 most substantive solutions to reversing global warming. It includes additional essays that offer additional context to the book. I have a lot of information about how they developed those solutions, and I think for the sake of time, I won't go into that, although in the book and online you can find pretty detailed information about their methodology. It is data-driven from peer-reviewed research, so we will leave it at that. I do want to make a note that they've identified the 100 top solutions that span 7 sectors. The text was written in a way that is accessible for most people. They wanted to make it so that you don't have to be a climate scientist to understand these solutions and to relate with them. So, for example, carbon dioxide is spelled out and not written CO2. The pictures are so strikingly beautiful. So this really captures readers' attention and engages people to delve into the text. Their paradigm is that they see global warming not as an inevitability, but as an invitation to build, innovate, and to affect change. It's a pathway that awakens creativity, compassion, and genius. So I've been teaching Asheville High School for the past 15 years. Asheville has the largest population center in Western North Carolina, and environmental science is one of the 3 science graduation requirements in North Carolina. So I get to teach all levels. Among the top 10 lists that Asheville has landed on in recent history, we're also the 2nd fastest gentrifying city in our nation. So we have a dwindling middle and lower socioeconomic classes. My days start by asking my students if they ate breakfast that morning or dinner the night before, and feeding them fruit and snacks that I keep in the classroom, asking them if they slept the night before, if they slept in a bed. Many of my students who are experiencing generational poverty also have a history with trauma and crisis. By the time my advanced placement rolls around, 3rd period, the issues students are dealing with are making the grades to get into Ivy League school of choice and how to maintain the demands that they've placed on themselves. So the realities between the 2 groups are very similar or very different, but in many ways they're similar, like in the sense that mental health is, of course, an issue that is across all different types of people's backgrounds. So September 2017, so almost a year ago, I was gifted a copy of Drawdown by a dedicated classroom parent, and I just sat on my desk. Life and learning happened around the book for days, despite the name Paul Hawken on the front cover. And when I finally got a moment to crack it open, I immediately got the sense for the potential that was bound in its covers, and I knew that it was going to be a game changer for our planet and our civilization. So within a month, our school's media center ordered a class set of books for our environmental science students, and I'd reached out to various educators on both state and national levels to engage them in curriculum development. Climate change, as we all know on this call, will affect our youth more than any other generation, and they need and want solutions, and really time is of the essence. So at this point, I'd like to make a note that Project Drawdown has posted many of the solutions online. So if you are a classroom teacher with computer and internet access, your students can dive right into the solutions without actually having the text. So with my ninth grade Earth and Environmental Science Standard and Honors group, I prepared 2 different lessons. First, I just wanted to speak a little bit about the differences between the two. In Asheville, standard students are generally either students who lack intrinsic drive to succeed, they generally have lower reading lexiles or processing rates, and they may also lack academic support in their home environment. They're also more likely to come from households experiencing generational poverty. My honor students are more motivated to succeed academically. They have higher reading and math skills, and they expect homework and outside projects. Both groups have students with individualized education plans, or IEPs and 504 plans. Many times my standard classes are inclusion classes, meaning that we have a certain number of students who require additional academic support services. So that means that there's another teacher in the classroom with me. So of course, exposure to the book looked very different for my 2 Earth and Environmental Science groups. My standard group, we just completed a walkabout. Students studied the pictures, they read captions, generated questions and observations. I'm presently working with my literacy coach to create more rigorous standard level curriculum, and I really welcome collaboration with you all. So if there are any other standard science teachers out there, or even 8th grade science teachers who want to collaborate with curriculum development, please contact me. In the bottom right of your screen there, you can click on the document. This is where there's a screenshot, studying Drawdown solution by solution. And this is the assignment that I had my honor students complete. And in this lesson, students were asked to identify vocabulary and concepts that they're unfamiliar with. Even though the book is written for the general public, there's still a lot of vocabulary in there that's challenging. They were asked to identify, explain how the solution either sequesters atmospheric carbon dioxide or how the solution addresses climate change. They're supposed to find, create thesis statement for the solution, summarize the solution, reflect on the text, and generate follow-up questions. Students then shared out in small groups. You could also have students share out in pairs. So other options for this assignment would include just assigning one specific solution, and this would allow the entire class to delve deeper into that one solution. It would also give you and your students more opportunity to identify questions or misconceptions and to scaffold content as needed. You can also allow students the options to choose solutions within one of the 7 sectors. And then in small groups, they can teach one another about the solutions. Co-editor Catherine Wilkinson spoke last October at the Asheville's Climate Collider, and there she challenged the current doomsday climate change paradigm with the story of creating a more resilient, healthy, vibrant ecological and economic future while drawing down climate change and greenhouse gases. After hearing her speak, I felt even more impassioned to move forward with getting solutions in students' hands. The idea that drawdown solutions can create a healthier, more resilient economy, society, and planet is, in my opinion, the message that humans have needed to get on board with making real change. Ms. Wilkinson's parting words to the audience that day were to be keepers of the flame of possibility, which is quite the concise benediction. And during her talk, she also mentioned Puerto Rico as a place where for the solutions in Drawdown could indeed spell a more resilient future for the island and its people. So with that thought, I created this Puerto Rico resiliency lesson that you see here. As you know, September of last year was a devastating month for Puerto Rico, as the island within 14 days got slammed by 2 massive hurricanes. So there are 2 lessons that are linked on the slide. One is a general lesson, and the other one is specific to the electrical power grid and electricity generation. Students were asked in class to work in small groups, use news articles, identify and describe the crisis in Puerto Rico, and then use the book Drawdown to identify solutions to Puerto Rico's humanitarian and energy crises. So the solution can be focused or it's broad. Students can either focus on developing solutions to Puerto Rico's energy needs or water needs, which of course would be focused. I let students choose their own solutions, which was honestly too broad. I like the idea of targeting a sector like electricity generation because that limits students to a narrower range within the text and makes the assignment more manageable and not as overwhelming. So you have the links for both of those assignments. Either way you choose, making interdisciplinary and concrete connections are central to this activity. For example, losing electricity has other impacts besides just losing your light. You also lose access to sanitation services, medication storage, a particularly scary scenario for anyone who is insulin dependent, for example. So this activity can be adapted and applied to any place or post-disaster area that needs to build infrastructure that will meet both human needs, but also increase the long-term economic, environmental, and social resiliency of that area. And then finally, I created a number of resources that helped our school win the inaugural Drawdown EcoChallenge. But first, let's talk a little bit about what was the EcoChallenge. So the Drawdown EcoChallenge was created and sponsored by the Northwest Earth Institute, which is a nonprofit organization that inspires people to take responsibility for the Earth. We create and support a number of eco-challenges, one of which is coming up this October, and partnered with the Drawdown team to create an eco-challenge that's specific to the solutions in Drawdown. So the Drawdown EcoChallenge was a fun, fast-paced 21-day engagement competition that asked people to turn intention into action. Teams of people from all over the world came together to learn about and practice solutions while also competing against other teams. The eco-challenges are grouped into 7 sectors, just like the solutions are grouped in the book. We have electricity generation, food, women and girls, buildings and cities, land use, transport, and materials. Points are earned by completing your one-time or your daily eco-challenges and then answering a reflection question. Participants can also earn points by recruiting teammates and posting additional reflections or comments on their team's website. So the EcoChallenge platform resembles many social media platforms, with participants having their own individual profile and then being part of a collective team profile. Participants can comment on each other's progress, post pictures, and share links that help support the team's success. So our team's goal was to have every environmental science student on campus identify, communicate, and practice concrete actions that reverse climate change. I wanted students to not only learn about, but to also practice the solutions. And social media is so central to many adolescents these days that I wanted to encourage them to share in person and online the information that they learned about the actions that they were taking. So our team of people spanned 512 participants, all of the enrolled environmental science students at the school at that time, including other students on campus. I will put a picture of some social media that an environmental group posted. We have a handful of environmental groups on campus, and they were all really gung-ho about it. As momentum built, of course, teachers, parents, and community members also joined the team to show support and to learn about the solutions. So now we move into the EcoChallenge lesson. So one of the first resources I prepared was the Google site with supporting resources, and that's linked at the top. I did this for several reasons. First, frankly, I just needed to familiarize myself with the nature of the EcoChallenges, which ones required monetary resources or daily action, which ones would be the most accessible and relevant to my students, while also aligning my course content. So initially I had concerns of my standard level students in particular would experience difficulty with some of the content. The Google site has an introductory page with step-by-step instructions on how to sign up for the challenge and how to recruit other participants. The site is then divided into the major sectors with a data table at the top of each sector that outlines what kind of actions are required for each eco-challenge. That way, students who don't have money can, from the get-go, identify the eco-challenges that require monetary resources and then set their sights on other options, for example. To be honest, I'm really not sure how much this resource was utilized by my students. It helped me wrap my brain around the competition. So it helped serve me. And I think it also helped, to some degree, help students with actually logging on and creating a profile onto the EcoChallenge webpage. So let's get into the lessons. I chose topics that aligned with both North Carolina Earth and Environmental Science standards and the College Board's AP Environmental Science curriculum. The lessons are in Google Doc format. They're linked to the slide. Generally speaking, I have students commit to a certain number of minutes learning on an EcoChallenge website, and then for either classwork or homework, they spend that time researching the solution and then answering questions on the web activities. Their answers then supported the reflection questions that were asked on the EcoChallenge page. During the last week of the EcoChallenge, I was traveling with Dana Hain and the UNC Chapel Hill's Energy Literacy Fellows to North Carolina's East Coast to tour utility-scale wind and solar projects and explore the potential of tidal energy. So anyone who works with teenagers knows that street cred is critical. And my experiences from that trip helped energize students and make wind energy in particular a reality and not just something that happens on the internet or in books. Students enjoyed seeing pictures that I took and hearing stories about my trip. So I'd like to just shout out to Dana and the work that she does to increase energy and climate change literacy with the North Carolina educators. I'm here in part because of the work that I've done with her over the years. So now let's spend some time with the lessons. Over the different sectors, the food sector was the most popular sector with students. The simple task of learning what food expiration labels really mean gave students the information that they need to reduce food waste and save their families money. The Forest-Friendly Foods Eco-Challenge taught students which foods are the leading causes of tropical deforestation. The largest takeaway was the palm oil is in nearly all processed food, so if we want to eliminate it from our diet, it requires a lot more food prep than many people are used to. This Eco-Challenge generated a lot of discussion with my AP students as they were floored by the extent that palm oil has infiltrated our food supply. And actually, when we were giving blood during the Eco-Challenge and afterwards, you know, you're sitting around, you're drinking your juice, you're eating your snacks, and a couple of my AP students and I just started looking at the snacks, and palm oil was in every single one of the snacks. And we just kind of had that moment where we all looked at each other and we were like, wow, this really is everywhere. Asheville, of course, located in Buncombe County. Once you leave the city limits, grazing cattle is a really common sight. So for these reasons, the silvopasture and the temperate forest lessons under land use were really relevant to life in this area. And students resonated with the silvopasture lesson, I think because they empathized with cattle in the summer. Like, who wants to stand in a hot field all day? No one, right? So they really loved learning about how farmers can graze cattle in forests and benefit the cattle and the forest. So, I mean, also Asheville is just known for being a nature-loving area. So students also enjoyed learning how their forests play a role in regulating our Earth's climate. We're moving over to materials now. Drawdown's #1 solution to reversing climate change is to recycle existing hydrochlorofluorocarbon refrigerants, HCFCs, and then use a substitute that isn't such a potent greenhouse gas. So I was able to use this Eco-Challenge web activity to teach students the differences between stratospheric and tropospheric ozone, to teach them about the depletion of the ozone layer, stratospheric ozone layer, the Montreal Protocol, and CFCs. Moving into energy within that sector, watching short videos on biomass and passive and active geothermal energies helped make those energy sources come to life, while also communicating that the viability of those energy sources are specific to regions and certain criteria, of course. The wind energy and forest restoration lesson was one of the last ones that we completed, and it's an advocacy lesson where students had to find their congressional leader's contact information and then contact that leader. Many students received responses from their congressmen, which was a source of pride and conversation within those peer groups. And I think the process helped them internalize that our politicians work for us, and advocating for the change that you want to see in the world is actually pretty easy to do. In many cases, I used the resources that the Northwest Earth Institute provided on the EcoChallenge website, and then I tweaked them to create these web activities. I consider them all to be in rough draft form, and I look forward to editing them as we move into next year's competition. If you use them, please cite me and share them with and share your edited documents with me in turn. I really would love to see how people have transformed them and improved them. So, of course, social media is king for many teenagers today. And of the two, Instagram and Twitter, my students use Instagram. So for that reason, I focused my social media use to that platform. Like Snapchat, Instagram's story feature allows users to upload videos and pictures that disappear within 24 hours. So this is an effective way to keep followers and participants current on our status. Using the story feature allowed me to hype up the EcoChallenge by posting students doing activities. On our class account, AHS Solar Cougars, that's linked to the Instagram on your screen. I did save 2 stories that you can still view. One is about zero waste cooking, where I show how you can make coconut milk at home. And then another is about replacing light bulbs with LED light bulbs. Both were eco-challenges. The North Carolina wind, solar, and tidal stories are all from my field trips with Dana at Chapel Hill, and were used as teasers before those eco-challenge lessons. Periodically, I posted updates on Twitter because many adult participants, like parents, teachers, district level administration, are Twitter followers. I posted a picture here from a post that a student club posted on their site to show support of their competition, and just to show what different groups were doing to help support our cause. I did wait until the final days of the competition to use email because I didn't want to burn folks out by receiving emails from me. So the emails that I did send to faculty, staff, and students in the last 2 days really helped give us the final push that we needed to the victory line. Before we move on and visit the successes, I just want to take a minute and reflect on how teenagers are addressing adversity in 2018. As we know, after the Parkland tragedy, students rose up against the nation to take a collective stand against gun violence in our schools. And Asheville High School had a small group of students who had already helped organize the Women's March in January. They created a minute-by-minute itinerary of their march, anti-gun violence walkout, proposed that plan to administration, used social media to make their plan a reality. Their protest included a moment of silence followed by step-by-step instructions on how to contact elected officials. And students literally stood outside of our building side by side with cell phones in hand while they called, texted, or emailed their pleas to elected officials. So I wanted to share this with you to give you a sense of how teenagers are truly empowered to find solutions to complex, difficult problems, and then act. The other really devastating thing that happened the week before the end of the EcoChallenge was a tragedy struck our community on April 18th. One of our students, Keithan, in the middle there, his middle school sister and their mother were shot and killed at home. Our community was jarred in shock and grief that students were well loved and well known and loved by many of our 9th grade students. And so for the rest of that second week of the EcoChallenge, learning took a back seat. Students were grieving, and it was, of course, key to give students the space to grieve these huge losses. So this time for me was marked by a huge dichotomy. On the one hand, there's this monumental loss and deep sadness. And then on the other hand, we had the promise of winning this competition. By that time spanned 767 teams around the world. So by the following Monday, the 23rd, it was really clear that we were leapfrogging with the Taiwan Sugar Corporation for first place. As the sun rose on Taiwan, they would gain first place. And then when the sun rose on the East Coast, we would regain first place. And students were getting excited about the possibility of teenagers outcompeting a multinational corporation. So I sent out emails to both faculty and students on the final day, that Wednesday of the competition, with the plea for a final push to earn over 22,000 points to secure our lead over the Taiwan Sugar Corporation. Y'all, that morning was one of the most jaw-dropping moments of my career, as I periodically checked the dashboard on the EcoChallenge page, and I saw the scale of the points that we were earning. Students across my campus were learning about tangible, everyday solutions to arguably our species and planet's greatest problem and threat. And on a personal and emotional level, it was the first morning I saw students and colleagues' shoulders dropping. And I'll never forget how Asheville High School students on that April day bound together in the midst of enormous heartache and worked toward a common goal while learning how to create a healthier, more resilient future society and economy. So let's move on to our successes. You can see that there's a myriad of different achievements that we had by the end of the competition. Asheville High School's greatest accomplishments, in my opinion, were matching and surpassing every minute of the 3-week competition with minutes spent learning about solutions. Our work together not only earned us the honor of being first place by a groundbreaking 31,000 point lead, but also reinforced to both teenagers and adults alike that today's youth are indeed change makers. So our grand prize was a 1-hour web call with the Drawdown editor, which is wild. I was first introduced to Mr. Hawkins' business paradigm shifting book, The Ecology of Commerce, as an undergrad, and Dr. Egger's Strategies for Sustainability in Business class at UNC Asheville in 2000. So to prepare students and to attempt to get them to understand who this man is and what he has done for both the social justice and environmental movements, we researched his past accomplishments. We read from Drawdown his foreword and an opening essay. Students wrote at least 2 questions that they wanted to ask him. With the help of the Northwest Earth Institute and Drawdown teams, we identified the top 14 questions from standard honors and AP environmental science students ages 14 to 18. Students asked questions. Mr. Hawkins gave thorough, candid answers. As with any opportunity, there are some people who get it and others who do not. And our 1-hour teleconference with Mr. Hawkins was just that. Many students and faculty alike were deeply, deeply inspired and affirmed in their quest to continue the work that we have ahead of us as we adopt the solutions in Drawdown. For me, a highlight from the interview was Paul's response to a student question: what have you done in the past when you lose hope given the slow pace of change? And he responded, I don't believe in hope. Hope is the mask of fear, and we must live fearlessly. So for me, this is a reminder that instead of wasting energy on hope and fear, use that energy to act in ways that usher in transformation. So the Drawdown EcoChallenge in the future, they're hoping that they will have another one this coming April. So I'm inviting you to use and share the resources that I've shared with you, and in turn share whatever curricula that you develop or revisions that you've made to improve my lessons. Our team's central goal this coming year is to continue to spread the solutions presented in Drawdown and, of course, empower youth to practice those solutions. And we really look forward to seeing what public school is the next #1 team. So there's my email address. You can follow my students and our work on Instagram and Twitter at AHS Solar Cougars. For me, the story of Drawdown has been the power of one, compounded by the collective actions of many ones. Please continue to empower youth to be change makers and to teach that even our most complex global problems have concrete solutions that can create a more fruitful, healthful, resilient economy and society. And I so deeply appreciate your time. Ms. Anderson, I'll pass this back to you now.
Sarah, wow, thank you so much. That was incredible, and I can't even imagine how much work you poured into that.
It was a lot.
Yeah, huge kudos. Like that, and I love that you put all the resources up online and made them available. I think we've chatted into the chat the PDF of Sarah's slides, and in that PDF, all the links are clickable, even though they weren't clickable on her screen. And then I also chatted in
Oh, thank you.
Your Google Sites page that
Great,
has
thank you.
all that on there also. Yeah,
And
I don't even
like
know
I
where to
said, please share. You know, I think students more than ever, they're empowered. They want to affect positive change in the world. They just need to know solutions.
Yeah, and I have to say on a personal level, like I have heard about Drawdown, and I so identified with your like, oh, the book has been sitting on my desk. I should look at it. And I just haven't done that part. And so I think I needed this sort of like kick in the pants to be like, okay, this really is everything that everyone's saying it is, and I really should spend the time to learn about these different solutions. Like some of them really are surprising. The HCFCs section, I'm super interested in that one.
And that's shocking to, I think, most people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's yeah. Okay, Frank, you had one in the chat. Good job, Sarah.
Sure.
What's next?
Well, I mean, let me just unpack this. Sarah, I'm the climate education coordinator for NOAA, and
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. And we have lots of awesome people in Asheville at NOAA. But the question I have for you is you know, I was chatting with Paul about Drawdown and how it relates to education, and he had made the claim that everything in Drawdown has an immense educational purpose. Even though the book itself and the website don't really call it out that way, but the purpose clearly was in the mind of the people who developed it, to have it be a key part of how education plays a role in solving the climate challenges. So, you know, to take what you've done brilliantly and amazingly with your class and students and have that kind of transform into something larger with more contributors, partners, you know what I mean? Like just more help. And you know, I know there's an event coming up in New York
Right,
where some of that's happening.
In October, right?
Yeah. So I mean, are there drawing resources and partnerships and collaborations to kind of take what you've begun and really transform it and get behind it at a larger scale? What do you think?
That has not happened yet. I'm open to it. My core goal with my work with Drawdown is to share it with as many people as possible. In part because there are just so many tangible, realistic solutions that people can practice daily. So I'm open to, you know, whatever contacts or options, ideas folks have. But definitely, like, time is of the essence, and let's get the good news out there.
So that, Sarah, one follow up, and then I'll be quiet, is that a lot of the people on this call have, you know, are good at finding resources, money, and partnerships to kind of take an idea and hopefully find the enterprise that actually takes it from the idea all the way through to scaled deployment. So I see the potential here. Hopefully others do as well, and maybe we'll continue that conversation beyond today.
I would love that. Thank you.
Sarah, is your email on your slideshow, and consequently it'll be available through the Clean archives?
Yes, it's sarah.duffer, sarah.duffer, DUFFER, @gmail.net. And if you just do a Google search for Sarah Duffer Asheville, you will you'll see it as well.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is Jane Hines Fry. I will be visiting Asheville from Massachusetts on September 4, 5, 6. So I'm looking forward to visiting your neck of the woods.
Great. We'll look forward to seeing you.
This is Erin from the Wild Center. I just wanted to mention, I put in the chat the event for the link for Drawdown Learn, which is the event that was mentioned in Rhinebeck, New York in October. It's October 19th through 21. And I know that they're trying to keep the registration fairly small for this event, but the registration is still open. And if you can't make it to New York, they have a live stream event with Paul Hawken on the Friday evening, October 19th. And that's free to join, and you can sign up to be a satellite site if you would like to host a showing in your area. And you can find all that information on the link that I put in the chat.
Thank you, Erin. I would like to go. It's going to depend on financial resources for me, but knowing that there'll be an option to be present with Paul live Friday night is great, and I can share that with students. Thank you.
Sarah, this is Anna Gold. This is a fantastic presentation, and I looked at some of your lessons. I think it's great how you ground it all in science and then talk about the solutions and kind of build this from the foundation. I have a question. Your example that you showed was the Puerto Rico one, which is very interesting. I thought it was, even that little diagram, Reb, I'm with you. I have not had, I don't know, I've been meaning to look at the Drawdown book, but I haven't done that yet. It's a great.
Guilty.
I'm a classroom teacher. I'm allowed to give homework to you all, right?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's what I need.
Homework.
So my question is, you shared this Puerto Rico example, but how did you feel your students, did they connect more with solutions that were very close to home versus, thinking about not super far away, but somewhat far away place like Puerto Rico? Well,
Okay,
I'm just curious to see what you saw in the classroom.
The Puerto Rico lesson that I did was I started with the broad lesson. And at that point in time, most of the students had not even opened up the book. And in retrospect, I think the whole thing was way too overwhelming for them, which is why I suggested that instead educators really focus in on a sector or give students an option of a handful of different solutions. The other component of that is that the crisis in Puerto Rico is so real and scary that it takes some time just to internalize the magnitude of the crisis. So students were in that space for a while. There were a lot of kind of shell-shocked looks. So I think this coming year I will definitely go about it differently. I will have a more focused lesson like the electrical grid option that I shared with you all. And then I think that the reason why the Drawdown EcoChallenge was so successful is because it provided concrete, practicable solutions, right? That some of them were very relevant to what we see in our backyard, whether it's cattle or temperate forests or solar energy, and it was a very empowering experience. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I was just curious because I've been thinking about local versus further away phenomena to generate interest of students. So that's great.
Yeah. This is Marta. Can you hear me?
Hi, Marta.
Hi, Sarah. This is so great. I'm totally excited and energized by this. So I have these little picayune questions. One is, and some of it maybe we can talk offline too. For our youth programs, we work mostly with Latinx kids who live in mobile home communities or surrounding low-income housing. And I was wondering what the ethnic diversity was of your 512 kids, kind of, sort of, if you know. And we've brought some of our kids to be evaluators for other folks who are doing interesting work using the Drawdown material. And their comments were that they were interested in it, but they wanted to have more information about what kids could do. They felt like a lot of it was this sort of, big stuff, and that they were concerned about the kids' stuff that they could do. And that's one of the reasons why I was so excited about your advocacy work, which was great. And then they also wanted it to, kind of building on what Anna was talking about, they really wanted it to be very specific for where they are and really what can they do. So could you talk just a little bit more about, very specifically about Asheville, if you were able to relate it to that, in addition to the cattle, which I thought was great, and nature.
Yes. So going back to our demographics, we're about 40%, maybe a little less, probably 35% African American, probably close to, I don't know, probably 60-70% Caucasian, and then we have an increasing Latino population in Asheville. Our demographics are changing pretty rapidly, and really the poverty piece sees no color. It really is the difference between the haves and the have-nots. So my classroom, my AP class looks pretty white. That's changing. We have a huge push to get more diversity in those higher level courses, and then the 9th grade classes are more heterogeneous in their grouping. So I hope that answers the first question that you asked. Part of the reason why I loved the EcoChallenge is because it provides, again, those solutions that people can practice. Every single day, you and I eat 2, 3, maybe 4 meals. And in those 2, 3, 4 meals that we eat a day, we can make choices that can either draw down climate changing greenhouse gas emissions or not. So even in something that is so central and core to our human reality is eating, that can really be a source of empowerment. So another set of activities that students can do is reduce food waste. I mean, we all can control what, to some degree, how much food we're eating, how much we're wasting, what kind of food we're opting for, and even if it's just less meat and dairy, more vegetables, because it is out of economic reach for people to go and buy certified organic food, for example. So I think that was part of the reason why the food sector was so popular, is because that's a common denominator for all of us. So for students to learn, again, how to reduce food waste and what those labels really mean, that was exciting for them. So if I were you, I'd almost just focus on the food sector. And then towards the end, I had some pretty frank conversations. I didn't include it on the presentation about population change and population growth, and how if we just empower young girls and women to stay in school and to pursue economic opportunity outside of the household, and to practice family planning, to have birth control so that they have children when they want to have children, that's going to help reduce climate changing greenhouse gas emissions even more. So those are all things that are actions that people can practice. Did that help answer that question?
Yeah, no, that was really terrific. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I'm with you all on the solutions being specific to where students are. And in the past, I've taken students to go to the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy's dual axle solar array, and a local solar company, Sundance Solar, comes out and brings one of their project managers, and they talk about different green collar jobs that are available in our community. So there is also, of course, that economic empowerment piece to it as well, where you can go to a local 2-year college or a 4-year university, and or even maybe some areas have licensure programs, learn about electricity. And you can get a living wage job in green power, support yourself, your family, and also have opportunities for promotion as well. So those may be some ideas on how to integrate options. I think it's also going back to the food, and if you have the infrastructure to teach students how to cook foods that they eat at home using less animal product, that could also be an option too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this was such an exemplary presentation. I feel like it's just perfect for this this group, and I think we're all kind of like spinning our wheels about how we can make sure we get this out. So I do want to be cognizant of time. We're a little bit over our hour. So Sarah, thank you so much. I'm glad we've got your email in the chat, and all the slides up on the website too. So
great. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate your time. Forward together.
That's right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you so much. This was fabulous.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank